What is a scientific fact that absolutely blows your mind? When you dream, one portion of your brain creates the story, while another part witnesses the events and is really shocked by the plot twists. Self-entertainment. I like it. Edit. Why are so many people replying Picasso? Someone explain me. PLZZ Lamau. Approximately 99.85% of all the mass in the solar system is concentrated in the Sun. The mass in our solar system is contained within the Sun, Jupiter, and a rounding error. Very true, but even Jupiter could be a rounding error. Lol. It's only 0.095330% of the solar system's mass. So, statistically speaking, the Earth and the rest of the solar system, like Finland, don't exist? As a Finn, it always catches me off guard reading Finland memes in the strangest of places. You can't fool us. How much are they paying you, huh? Huh? The time period in which dinosaurs lived is so vast, there were dinosaur fossils when dinosaurs were still alive. Edit. A lot of people are rightly pointing out that there are currently human fossils around too. I admit that I thought that the fossilization process took a lot longer. I'm still blown away by the scale of time though. The total span of the age of dinosaurs, from the beginning of the Triassic to the end of the Cretaceous, was nearly 3 times longer than the time from the end of the Cretaceous to now. If you put one of every animal in a bag and then pick one out, you have a 15 chance in picking a beetle. And 12 chance of picking an insect of any kind. To put it another way, half of all animal species are insects, and 40% of those are beetles. If one could conclude as to the nature of the Creator from a study of creation, it would appear that God has an inordinate fondness for stars and beetles. Evolutionary biologist J.B.S. Haldane. There are 8 times as many atoms in a teaspoonful of water as there are teaspoonfuls of water in the Atlantic Ocean. This makes the deck of cards one even more crazy. There are 8x as many decks of cards in a teaspoonful of atoms than there are in the Atlantic Ocean. No. There are 8x as many atoms in a teaspoon of water as there are teaspoons of water in a deck of cards. Okay, but my recipe has it in tablespoons. Mine was in Florida ounces? Slime molds don't have brains or nervous systems but somehow retain information and use it to make decisions. Even more crazy is that they can fuse with another individual and share the information. I'm not a biologist and this is from memory, but what I remember is fascinating. They rely on nutrient gradients to replace neurons. Internally they contain tubes that grow larger based on the amount of nutrient they transport, so more food, larger paths, they expand more in that direction. That's how they can solve mazes. They expand in all directions, but once one bit touches the food, that pathway gets reinforced, just like neural pathways, and the rest of the organism flows there. Sounds like something a slime mold would say. How much empty space there is in atoms. Like how the duck, I'm a solid object, I'll never understand. It's like fishnets, you cannot pass but small stuff can, like straws etc. Now apply that scale to the extreme, from microscopic to human to planetary. I just wanted to say I hate you for making me think of my leg like it's a really dense fishnet. Don't forget that since electrons move, your fishnet leg is breaking and fixing itself constantly. You can fit all the planets, Pluto included, between the Earth-Moon. Yes, but please don't. Installs Universe Sandbox maliciously. The size of animals still blows my mind. You can read about how a manta ray is 23 feet long and 3 tons, but it doesn't really hit you until you realize that's heavier than most cars. So I live in Hawaii and I'm oing night snorkeling with manta rays on my honeymoon in a couple of weeks. I can't wait. Also, it's whale season now, so the humpback are here. And I mean, whales are massive, but they are mind-bogglingly massive in person. It's a whole nother thing seeing an animal the length 2 buses and weighing in at 30 tons launch itself completely out of the water is an awe-inspiring display or power. Just got back from a week long in Kauai. Saw 2 whale mamas teaching their babies to swim, and from far away I thought the babies were adults. Then I saw mom's tails and fins and holy shit. If some sort of super advanced alien species on a planet 80 million light years away from Earth built a high-tech telescope that let them see objects on the Earth's surface, they would be seeing dinosaurs right now. Maybe that's why they haven't visited. They saw the dinosaurs and were like, duck that planet, we are never going there. If two pieces of the same type of metal touch in space, they will bond and be permanently stuck together. Space welding, cold welding. I recently read about the split brain experiments. There is a procedure for severe epilepsy that involves cutting the connecting nerves of the two brain hemispheres, resulting in the two hemispheres being unable to communicate with each other. The experiment shows that both halves can answer questions independently of each other, have separate opinions, preferences, form memories independently. Basically suggesting that there are two minds in the brain. That just blows my minds. Edit, typos. I remember seeing videos about this in high school biology. Not only what you have said, but also since each hemisphere has different tasks and you cut their connection, a lot of things become different. For example, if they cover your eyes and give you an object you are familiar with, you are not able to identify it only by touch, because there is no communication between the two hemispheres. You have to see the object to be able to fully identify it. Scary shit. More crazy even is that in certain scenarios where this procedure happened, one could hold up an object with their right hand looking at it only with their right eye, with the left eye blindfolded. When they were asked whether or not they knew what the object was, they would answer positively, but when asked what it was, they wouldn't be able to name it or describe it, despite affirming they knew what the object was. I think it had to do with the fact that there are many zones in the brain at play in this experiment: language, memory, visual perception, touch, that are unable to communicate correctly with each other. To me, the most fascinating part is when the experimenters were able to command the non-speaking part of the brain to do an action without informing the speaking part, like hold up a sign that only one eye could see that said, "Take off your shoes." Then they would ask the person why they took off their shoes, and the person would explain it, fully convinced that they made the choice to do the action on their own. They would make up some justification for it, like their feet were getting hot. There really is no indication that we actually have any control over our own choices and actions, because even when they are initiated from a third party, we remain fully convinced that it was our own decision. We are just observers that think we are in control when we're not. Caterpillars basically dissolve into liquid in the cocoon. The only thing left are the so-called imaginal discs, groups of cells that contain all the information and the mechanism to turn that soup into the various body parts of a butterfly. The same applies for other insects. And apparently they retain memories through this process. Studies have been done. Wow, you're right. A search turned up this, journals.plos.org. There are actually blood vessels obstructing light from reaching certain areas in your eye, effectively creating a shadow. Your brain filters this out and essentially fills in the gaps so you don't actually see this spiderweb-like network of black lines. However, you can visualize them by shining a light at a diagonal into your eye, not directly, and gently wiggling it about. This means your brain doesn't have enough time to filter it out and you see this spiderweb-like network of blood vessels. Technical instructions to clarify the actions involved. I find it easier to see this effect in a dark environment, so the contrast of the black shadow against the light is higher. You want to be staring straight ahead and shining the light into your pupil at a 45-degree angle from the side, directed at your nose at about 10 to 20 centimeters away from them. Phone light will do great, and have it on the dimmest setting if possible. Then wiggle the light in gentle 1 centimeter movement side to side. Keep this up for about a second at least and you should see them. Hope this clears it up a bit. Here's a diagram of how to flash the light into your eyes. Diagram: I was expecting not that. It ain't much, but it's an honest day's work. When the pyramids were built, there were still some woolly mammoths roaming the earth. And Cleopatra lived closer to now than she did to the building of the pyramids. There are some Ice Age animals that are so perfectly preserved in permafrost that scientists have been able to find them still with all their soft tissue, hair, and organs. They even found a couple mammoths that still had liquid blood in them, and I remember one scientist even tasting the mammoth meat. Also, there was a mummy found in China that was so well preserved that she still had all her skin, hair, organs, etc. Her body was even flexible that you could bend her limbs as if she was alive. They even found her last meal still in her stomach and could perform an autopsy on her to tell you why she died. She died over 2,000 years before she was found. As I recall, the mammoth meat tasted bad. But then, I guess extreme freezer burn will do that.